Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge, where I sit with some of the theater's best and brightest, just chatting it up. Screen Actors Guild Foundation and BroadwayWorld have partnered for a filmed conversation Q&A series celebrating the vibrant theater community here in New York City and the union actors who aspire to have a career on both stage and screen. This special event, which is coming from the NYIT Auditorium on Broadway, is a career conversation with one of the entertainment world's most beloved comedians, and she is also the star and creator of one of the most successful TV sitcoms of all time, The Nanny. Well, now she is making her Broadway debut, playing the evil stepmother, Madame, in Rodgers and Hammerstein's glorious musical, Cinderella. Please welcome Broadway's newest star, Fran Drescher.
Because I was so scared when I first started that I would screw up, is that it's such a work in progress. And everybody says, it's over, if you screw up, it's over the minute it's done. And then you just keep going on with the show. And the people think, I always said, people say, how do you do the same thing over and over again? And I always said from my past experiences that I look at it as a mindful meditation. Because usually I'm so multitasking and my head's in a million different directions, which you cannot do if you've ever done stage. You know that you're going to go up on your lines if you start thinking about other things. So for those 2 hours, you really have to be in the moment, which is what meditation is. It's being very present and single-minded. So, for that reason, I like it because it's almost like a relaxing technique for me. But what I didn't realize, and now, because I've only done shows for maybe a month or two, and this will end up being a 4-month run for me. But the show, my character, my choices keep changing and growing, and it's so fun that I wasn't feeling that great. I didn't want to take off at all because really, I cannot disappoint people. I mean, I'm still in therapy because, it's hard for me to put my own needs ahead of other people. And these people, they're selling out the houses, and it's primarily because of, me. So I know that it would be and then Peter, my ex-husband, I said, well, maybe if I can't go in, then can they get their money back? And he said, not unless your name is above the title. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, well, that's Rodgers and Hammerstein. So, and they ain't calling in sick. So I persevered, and I went on. But my point is that, because I couldn't push as hard as I do sometimes, I had to find different levels. I had to come into it through different doors. And I found things that I wouldn't have otherwise found if I wasn't performing, feeling, dipping below the line. And some things I've held on to, because I really like it. So it's a constant work in progress, and I love that.
Cinderella. Oh, it is a most amusing name. The girl sits by the cinders of the fire, and her name is Ella, so I called her Cinderella. Why don't I have any friends?
And you went into the show with pop star Carly Rae Jepsen.
Carly, who I also love. We extended together. So we started together, we rehearsed together, and we're extending together, and it's wonderful. I mean, she does 6 shows. I do 8. But it's, she's so good and has really shown herself to be a very fine actress. And I always tell her, I love what you're doing. We have moments together that are very, very honest and emotional and real.
Yeah. Did it make it easier going into the show together? Because you all started from scratch. This is like a new production.
Totally. And I mean, I don't really know any different. This is the first time I've ever gone into a role that another actress was doing. But everyone said to me, because otherwise you're rehearsing with, like stage managers, and you're by yourself in this room. Whereas we, there were like, let's see, both one of the daughters, Carly Rae, Cinderella, me, the Prince, and Jean Michel, the Revolutionary, are all new to the show. So we were all rehearsing together. And that's a significant portion of the principal players. So I was very lucky. And we opened, some of the characters opened like a week before Carly and I. Everybody except us, and then we started, and it's just been great. And it is like a whole new show. People like yourself that have come to see the one before, and now this one, it's like, it's worth coming again just to see how things can change and change a whole theatrical experience. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. What's been the best part so far with being on Broadway and starring in Cinderella?
Oh, the driver they give me.
That's a big deal.
Oh, you don't even know. I bless them and I bless him. Because, I set up my dressing room thinking, because there have been shows like when I did something at the Lortel, well, that was too big a schlep to go to the Upper West Side in between shows, so I was stuck there. And I'm bringing everything to my dressing room. But I live so near and I have the driver. So I go home in between, and it's really nice to connect, with the puppy, the boyfriend. I eat my own food. It's really nice. And then I go back. So I have to say, as shallow as that sounds, that is so, I love that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But, also just the community and the feeling that one gets from being part of such a co-supportive community. I've never really worked in any milieu that is quite like this. I mean, when an understudy goes on, everybody makes a big deal for that person, gives them a lot of support, and sometimes the cast applauds them when they go to take their bow. And when someone's leaving the show, everybody sings happy trails at the end. And then there's so much rituals beyond that stuff that I never even realized. And, and I've started my own rituals. And now it's like, everybody does their little rituals throughout the show. So there's a prop chair that's sitting right opposite a mirror that an ensemble player always starts putting on her makeup on. And I'm usually done, and so I decide I'm going to sit my ass in the prop chair. And I start talking to Kendall, and I've gotten to know her, so I call that the Kendall show. And while she's putting on her makeup, I'm sitting opposite her, and we're talking the whole time. And then when I have to get up at a certain point and I walk to the wing, Sam is dressing right in the side wing there. He's taking off his clothes and putting, that's the Sam show. So me and like 3 other women always get there in time for the Sam show. That's why. I said, do you mind that we objectify you in this way? He says, no. And his ratings are great. I always tell him, such a good show, very adult. We all enjoyed the Sam show.
That is priceless. I want to go back to the beginning. Where did your love for performing begin, and what were your early outlets?
Well, I think when I was even a little girl, I mean, I was obsessed with watching I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. I remember asking my mom once, can they see me? It was great. No, Fran, be normal. And then, I kind of, by junior high, I think that I had decided I definitely wanted to be an actress. And then I started taking classes at like HB Studio. I went for half a day every day in high school to be part of their theater career program, because when I went to high school in the mid-'70s, this was like the innovative school of the 70s, and that was a very optimistic time in education, particularly in New York City. And so this was a career-oriented school, and you chose a career, and mine was theater careers, and that's where I met Peter. I actually met him before then, because in 10th grade I was in Charlie Brown, and he was the pianist that accompanied the show. And we kind of became friends then. And then in the following year, my junior year, we both ended up in this theater careers, and that's where we really became best friends.
One of your first big breaks was playing Connie, the dancing girl, in Saturday Night Fever. Saturday Night Fever fans we have here? Opposite John Travolta. That is a bit of celluloid history. Now, there's a story behind that. Tell us a story about shooting that scene, getting that part.
Well, I had originally auditioned many times for the role that was the female lead. When John Avildsen, the director of Rocky, was directing the show, at the movie. And then somehow he got fired, and they got John Badham. When John Badham came in, he ended up hiring his girlfriend at the time, who was famous on a soap opera and stuff. People knew who she was. I mean, she wasn't someone that I think was living that part, like a lot of other people in the movie were very authentic New York people. But it didn't matter. I was just grateful because he still called me back in for a much smaller part, didn't care, was thrilled, and I got the role of Connie, You Was Gonna Bet As You Were on the Dance Floor. And my dad was working in Brooklyn at the time. It was a closed set at the 2001 Club. And my dad was working in Brooklyn. If you've seen the movie, I have like 3 lines in it. And he said, I'm visiting one of the actors, and the security said, well, it's a closed set. And he said, but I'm the star's father. And they said, oh, right this way, Mr. Travolta. And he walked right in.
But you also spoke to Travolta, because that scene might not have been shot that night. Didn't you go up to him?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did. John was going through a very difficult period right then, because his girlfriend at the time, the one who was in
8 is Enough.
8 is Enough, was very, very ill. And he was on the phone a lot during that period. And he just didn't want to do the dance, didn't seem to have it in him. And I don't know where I got the chutzpah to say this to him, but it was my scene. And I wanted, I was afraid they would, cut it if he didn't do it. We were never going to get back to this, because this was like my last day. So I said to him, well, my manager always says, I don't care if we have to take you to the hospital after the scene, shoot the scene and go. You're a pro, knock it out, get it done, don't hold everyone else up, and then do what needs to be done for you. And he looked at me and he said, thanks, I needed that. Come on. And he pulled me onto the dance floor and started twirling me. He's an excellent leader. I didn't really know how to do the hustle. And I wasn't supposed to as my character, so it worked out fine. But, when he really wanted to dance with you and the cameras weren't rolling, you didn't have to know. He's like an amazing dancer.
That's a great story that you were bold enough to go up to the star and tell him that.
Oh, I got balls.
Yeah.
Like, forget about it. I'm from Queens.
Well, you're also hilarious as Bobby Fleckman, the tough-talking music promoter in This Is Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap fans? Directed by Rob Reiner, which starred Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer. How much fun was that role? And was most of it dialogue, improv?
Oh, it was all improv.
Yeah.
We had a 27-page outline. This is information that has to come out in this scene. This is information that has to come out in this scene. But other than that, it was all complete improv, no script, and really the birth of the mockumentary.
Yeah.
And, I was in such great company. I was so excited to be a part of that because I was actually shooting at that point Dr. Detroit with Dan Aykroyd. And thank you.
Thank you.
I have to say, over the course of my career, I've made some movies, you're thrilled because the movie was so wonderful to be in. And other things you do because of the people that you meet and keep as dear friends along the way. And in that movie, Dan Aykroyd and Donna Dixon were both in that movie. And they met each other, and they met me. And to this day, from then, they got married, fell in love and got married. And we're all the best of friends, and I'm the legal guardian of their children. And, we're like family, and it's been 30 years. So, also same with Rosie O'Donnell. We did Car 54. It's like 6 people saw it. But, we became friends from that moment on. She always talks about how she was trying to do her own stunts. I said, are you out of your mind? People, I called the director. I said, no, she can't do, what are you kidding me? She can't do this. And from that point forward, she knew that she had found a sister.
Well, I want to start talking about The Nanny. Nanny fans? It is one of the most successful and beloved TV sitcoms of all time. It has not been off the air since it originally ran. How did The Nanny originally come about? Tell me about that airplane ride you had.
Okay, well, has anyone not heard that story?
Raise your hands, okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
see?
Yeah, it's always so surprising to me.
They're theater folk.
Okay, good. Yay. I did a short-lived series called Princesses with Julie Haggerty and Twiggy, the one and only. And that we shot 7, they aired 4, and it got yanked. Then I did, right after that, a pilot also for CBS that would have been like maybe a summer replacement show, did not get picked up. So I said, okay, I'm, gonna stop hanging around LA because a girlfriend of mine that I didn't even know that well said, come to France. I bought a country house, vineyard, whatever. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna go, because at that point in my life, I was beginning to really challenge myself to be more independent rather than codependent. So I cashed in some frequent flyer miles on TWA, where they were having a special, so I could sit in first class. And I take the plane to visit this girl that I didn't know that well. But Peter was going through one of his gothic depressions. Some audition must not have gone well. And he wasn't even getting out of his bathrobe. So I said, I'm going. And for me, being this, Jewish girl from Queens that was, really had a very codependent personality, going all the way to Europe I mean, I never even driven to Jersey by myself. So it was like a huge deal for me. In fact, I had to keep talking myself, off the ledge, saying, okay, all I have to do is get from here to Paris and then connect. And when I get off of that second plane, my girlfriend will be there. So I kept saying to myself, that's all I have to do. I do this, to this, to this. Okay. Get on the plane, sitting on the plane. Who comes walking in but the president of CBS, Jeff Sagansky? I looked up at him. I said, Jeff. He said, Fran. I thought, thank you, Lord. And I ran into the bathroom to put some makeup on. And as I'm powdering my face, I'm saying, carpe diem, carpe diem. Because I remembered that little girl who had blown the audition. And, opportunity knocks every single day of our lives. And it's up to us if we're going to, take advantage of it. And this was like a huge opportunity. Because where was he going to go? Coach? He was like a captive audience. So when I come out of the bathroom, he's kind of hanging out at the flight attendant station. Back then we called them stewardesses. And I said, oh, hi, Jeff. Yeah. We start talking. He says, Fran, we've got like 30 pilot scripts that we're producing and a lot of stuff coming down the pike. Now, nowadays, they don't spend that kind of money, but this was the 90s. So, now you're lucky if a network will do like 6 pilots in a season. And then they were just cranking them out. So he said, there's going to be, a lot. We'll find you something else. And I said to him, talk about chutzpah. I said, I don't think you're going to find me anything that fits me hand in glove. But you should hear what Peter and our ideas for me are. Because I have a very specific brand of comedy, and we know what that is. Now, I had already done so many bad pilots that I decided to myself that I was not, and now I'm kind of approaching my mid-30s. And I said, I'm not going to be turning 40, going on unemployment again. And I really, at the end of the day, would rather have money than be an out-of-work actor. So I said, if I don't get my ass on the inside in the next 5 years, where I have some control, because I was feeling like they were making mistakes. They're not listening to me, in my opinion, because who the hell am I, the nutty neighbor in the pilot? And, I'm not a producer. I'm not a writer. Why should they listen to me? So, but I realized that that's the place where you have the power. You got to be a writer, producer. Writers rule. So I thought, I'm going to give myself 5 years, and I'm going to start putting the energy out there. And Peter and I were already like writing scripts, trying to come up with stuff, and thinking about what that show would be. And then this opportunity happened. So by 9.5 hours later, he said, okay, when we both are back in LA, call my office and I'll set you up with development. Years later, when we were a big hit on CBS, he said, I cannot tell you how many actresses have come to me and said, have I got an idea for you, for me? But he said, yours was the bullseye.
Why do you think the show was so popular around the world?
A number of reasons. I think that, the basic formula is that the underdog does good, the rich man, the poor man, the blue collar meets blue blood, the sexual tension. Everybody loved the costumes,
Yeah.
the look of it was larger than life, very theatrical. It was really like a musical without the music. And, so I think that, and the brand of comedy, it wasn't set in any particular time. It was its own fairy tale. It was a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that, gets it, and understands it. And I think that that's a big reason why.
Yeah.
And really, for the first time, they started, after it ran and ran and ran ad nauseum everywhere, then they said, we'd like to, different countries asked to buy the scripts, to reproduce it with local talent. And now there's like, you know, a Polish nanny, a Russian nanny, a South American nanny, an Asian nanny. I mean, it's like crazy. And, you know, the shows, they copy the cartoon. They copy everything.
Yeah.
They copy the staircase. And they copy all the direction. They do the exact show, only with different people. It's very complimentary. So
Yeah.
in some countries, the new one is running and the old one is running. It's an amazing
Yeah.
thing. I feel so blessed to have had this happen. It's really, it almost never happens.
Yeah.
It's a 1 in a million shot, and it just, you know, happened. And that's why I feel not only so grateful, and I always try and help people. I totally believe in nepotism.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I always tell people, you know, I can open the door for you, but then you've got to walk through it and
Yeah.
make the most of it. And if you're not going to make the most of it, then you have to go because, you know, I demand excellence. But I love helping people, and I love leveraging the celebrity for the greater good because, you know, otherwise you're wasting it.
Yeah.
You know, you could do so many positive things socially. So, I don't know, I try and, I'm just really, really grateful.
Yeah. Well, your last series, which I absolutely adored, Happily Divorced, which was on TV Land, was based on your real-life relationship with your gay ex-husband, Peter.
Right, yes, more or less.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually did not, in the show, in the first episode, you know, my husband wakes me up in the middle of the night and says, I think I'm gay. And I said, but we just had sex during Leno. How gay can you be? In reality, it didn't come out until a year after we divorced.
Yeah.
And he did not want the divorce, and he was very angry at me for leaving him. But then, and he moved to New York because he couldn't get far enough away from me. And then while he was in New York, he started dating women, and then he had already kind of connected with the fact that he thought he might be bisexual. He felt an attraction to men, but he never really acted on it. And then he wasn't really feeling it when he started dating women. Is this too much information?
It all stays here.
Right. That's something I haven't told before.
Yeah.
But anyway, he thought, oh, something's wrong. This isn't right. And he started to try dating men. And he realized, and, you know, I mean, for a while he was kind of like a fish out of water because he had really lived all his life as a married man. We married when we were 21. Straight married man. We lived a very traditional life. And, but, you know, eventually he found his way, and now he's a much happier person because he's living an authentic life. And I couldn't be happier for him because I was so guilty that I left him against his wishes because I don't like to hurt people, even if I, you know, couldn't figure out any other way to save myself. But then when he told me, you know, I was just so thrilled. I was so happy and relieved. And so, you know, and the silver lining of my cancer survival was that, you know, we started to really become friends again and reinvent the relationship. And now we're best friends. We talk every single day, several times a day. And we're back to writing and producing things together, though we do things separately as well. And we have a very healthy and loving relationship. And, you know, we still call each other husband and wife. And he still sends me flowers on our anniversary. And we like going to Paris together, which was actually the inspiration for Happily Divorced. We were first writing the movie about the vacation, because he immediately started slipping into his old ways of telling me what to do. And I said, you know, he's a control freak, but he's much better now that he's gay. You know.
Well, let's talk about this book. You are a 14-year well cancer survivor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Was it cathartic writing the book? What was the purpose of writing the book?
So
Tell me what you got
cathartic.
out of
I
it.
had to
Yeah.
write 4 versions of this book,
Yeah.
and longhand. I wasn't computer savvy.
Yeah.
Like to write a book. I liked writing with my Mont Blanc pen on yellow legal pads, pad after pad after pad. And I wrote a draft, and I have this little cartel of people that I really trust will tell me the truth. And they said it's much too angry, because frankly I felt very fucked over by the medical community and by my own body. And so I got that, okay, so they said, no, you gotta change all these things. But I was getting a lot of bitterness out of me. And by the 4th draft, I found, you know, my voice again. And I found the humor that happened. And I realized that side by side with grief lies joy. It's always there at the same time. And, you know, we just have to really push ourselves to climb out of, you know, the agony that we're mired in, and look around and see the comedy and the joy, because it's always there, and always kind of find a greater balance, because you know, no one leaves this planet unscathed, and but it's a slice of the pie of your life, and if you make it the whole pie, you may not survive it. You may never pull yourself out of the depths of despair. And, you know, I've been there a few times. I was raped at gunpoint. You know, I mean, shit happens. But what you do with it, how you grow through it, what becomes of you as a result is really what makes all the difference. And I'm not glad I had cancer. I don't wish it on anybody, but I'm definitely better for it.
Well, my final question is, what is the best bit of advice that you've been given that you live by?
Don't mix imagination with fear. It's a deadly cocktail. I mean, I have tons of people always say, I think that you said 4, you know, sayings in that one sentence. But they really help. They're really meaningful. And they've got me through some pretty serious things. But that applies to so many things. You know, we start using our imagination, mixing it with fear, and, you know, it hurts us in the end. So we have to put a rubber band on and say, and pull it and say, stop that. And you may have to do that 20 times a day until you reprogram. But it does work. Yeah.
Well, I have kept you much longer than I was supposed to. I want to thank you for one of the most beautiful and personal afternoons.
Thank you.
And if you haven't seen Cinderella, go see her. And if you've seen it, go see her.